we'd like to thank you for attending and joining our webinar today for the Ameni Provider Enrollment Portal. This is for your wage parity attestation. We're going to give you a little bit of background information of the providers that this does affect, and we'll give you some information on where to find additional information about the wage parity requirement. We'll show you the tool that you're going to use to do your attestation, and then some other additional information. So let's go ahead and get started. And the first thing I want to start with is this wage parity attestation affects those providers who are being reimbursed for home care aid services in New York City, Westchester County, Nassau County, and Suffolk counties. So if you have home care aides providing services in those counties, even if you happen to be in a bordering county of Westchester, for example, and you have aides providing services in Westchester, I would suggest that you need to do this. It is for those home care aid services being provided in those counties. So any of the New York City counties, Westchester, Nassau, and Suffolk. Now, this wage parity attestation only affects certain provider types. Those provider types you can see on your screen. Wage parity must be done for any managed care organization who is reimbursing for services provided in those counties I just mentioned. Also for managed long-term care plans. Agencies that are certified home health agencies, what we refer to as a CHA. If you're providing services in those counties I mentioned, New York City, Westchester, Nassau, and Suffolk. Long-term home health care programs, LHCSA, or Licensed Home Care Services Agencies. And those of you that are providing CDPAP or Consumer Directed Personal Assistance Program, also known as fiscal intermediaries, these are the provider types who are going to need to do the wage parity attestation. Again, this is for those provider types who are providing services in New York City, Westchester, Nassau, and Suffolk counties. This wage parity attestation needs to be completed by June 1st of 2021, and you will then need to do this annually thereafter. Wage parity attestation forms are now going to be submitted electronically to the Department of Health through the Ameni Provider Enrollment Portal that I'm going to show you today. The Ameni Provider Enrollment Portal can be found at the web address that you see on your screen. It's very easy. It's pe.ameni.org. Further information about wage parity can be found on the New York State Department of Health website. It is through their MRT, or Medicaid Redesign Team, part of their website. I will show you where we have this presentation posted on ameni.org. So if you need to get to those web links, I will show you where those are available to you electronically on the internet. So we have updated the ameni.org website to add in the wage parity. You'll find the link to that on the right-hand side of ameni.org. You're going to click on wage parity, and that will bring you to a resource page regarding wage parity. So on the left side of your screen, you'll see that's the page, and now I'm going to call out certain areas of that page. So many times the question we get is, do we have handouts for today's presentation? Those are available here in the Attestation User Guide. That's where you're going to find the slides for today's presentation. Some of you may need to update your email. Now, the system that you're going to use will use the email address that is on your correspondence address within the Ameni system. If you do not have an email address already on your correspondence address, then you may need to give us one. There is a change email for attestation link. This will open up a form that you're going to submit. What I would suggest that is, if you need to do this, I would suggest that you contact the Ameni call center at 800-343-9000. They can direct you also to this website and to this link for the change email address for attestation. And they will identify if you need to do this. So if you run into this issue where you need to update your email address with your correspondence address that's in the Medicaid system, call the call center first and speak to the wage parity group. The next link is to provider enrollment. So that's a way of getting to the provider enrollment pages. So if you are not currently enrolled in New York Medicaid, you're going to need to do so that you can submit your wage parity attestation. Again, remember that this is going to be something you're going to do every year. So you'll need to enroll if you're not already enrolled in Medicaid as a Medicaid provider. The next link I want to show you is very important. This is the New York State Department of Health website. This link will bring you out to that web address that I just showed you on the previous slide. This will take you to the New York State Department of Health, the MRT 61 page that talks about the worker wage parity. So if you have questions about wage parity, the policy behind it, you'll want to take a look at this website. That's where you're going to find a lot of your notices about wage parity. So you're probably wondering, well, how do I do my attestation? And we have actually two links here on how to do your attestation form. So there's a link there for attestation form or the direct link to the PE portal. This is where you're going to go to do your attestation. And you're going to need to do this by June 1st. So you need to do this very quickly from today. This will take you to the PE portal, and now at this point, I'm going to walk you through the steps that you're going to need to complete to get into the PE portal. So what I just showed you is the sign-on screen. Now, some of you may already have a sign-on for the provider enrollment portal. Some of you may already be using this for the EVV attestations. You may be able to try using your same sign-on that you used for that. Some of you, if you have difficulties with this sign-on, you may need to do a new sign-up. So if you do not have a login for this portal, and this is different than your ePaces login. Some of you use ePaces to bill your claims. This login is different than that. So if you need to sign up for this website, you're going to use the sign up link that's at the bottom of this little screen that shows up when you go into the PE portal. When you go into sign up, you're going to fill out the needed fields up in the top. You're going to create a username. You're going to fill in your name and phone number and your email address, and you're going to create a password. Please keep in mind that your password must contain these certain features. You need to have a lowercase letter, an uppercase letter, a special character, and a number. But you also need to make sure that your password is 16 characters long. So this is different. Again, let me reiterate, this is different than what you currently use on ePaces, if you're using ePaces to do your claims. Also, again, just as a reminder, Your phone number should start with the 1 at the beginning, followed by your 10-digit phone number. Please, before you hit the sign up button, please make sure you've typed everything in here correctly. Double check your email address. Make sure you haven't switched letters around. Make sure that you've got your .com, .org, whatever it is. Make sure you have your entire email address in there. Once you fill out those fields, you're going to click on the sign up button at the bottom. Now the system is going to validate your account. So the system is going to send you a PIN number to your email address. You're going to put that PIN number or verification code in here and confirm your account. So again, that's the reason why you want to make sure that you type in your email address correctly. You're going to confirm your account, and that's going to allow you into the PE portal. Now again, like I said, some of you are familiar with this process because maybe you're doing the EVV attestation. But we're now going to use a different banner at the top of your screen. We're going to use the wage parity attestation. Now, if you have not used this dashboard, if you have not used this website before, you're going to need to link your provider to your account. So in order to do that, you need to first tell us who is your provider. Now, I want to use one word of caution here. Many of you are enrolled in New York Medicaid without an NPI number, a National Provider Identification Number. Many of you are what we call an atypical provider. If you are an atypical provider, I would suggest that you use your Medicaid number. That is the number that was assigned to you. So for all of you, I would suggest using that Medicaid number that was assigned to you when you enrolled in New York Medicaid. And that may alleviate the issue that if you were trying to use your NPI number, because if you do not use your NPI number normally, the system will not be able to find you. So start using with this website, start with your Medicaid ID number. Now remember, your Medicaid ID numbers are that number that start with a 0. So you're going to enter that Medicaid ID number in this field, and you're going to click Next. Now, if you are not in the system will not find you. But if the system does find you in the New York Medicaid system, it's going to return to you your name and provider ID number. So that is a confirmation that we've been able to find you in the system. Again, the best bet is to use your Medicaid ID number, especially again, because many of you do not use an NPI number in the New York Medicaid system. So confirm that this information looks correct, and then you're going to click Next. So once you do that, the system may already see that you're linked to this account. Maybe because you've already done the EVV attestations, this provider ID is already linked to your user account. If that's the case, then you're just going to go ahead and proceed. But I want to show you, for those of you that are not currently linked to that provider, and I'm referring to your user ID and password being linked to your provider number. If you're not currently linked, I'm going to show you the screens you're going to see. So if you are linked, you're going to proceed. If you're not currently linked, the system is going to force you to fill in a PIN. So you're going to have the system send you a 6-digit PIN number And this is the important part. The system is going to send this PIN number to the email address that we have on file for your correspondence address. Remember, I mentioned just a few slides ago about the email change, the change email for attestation form. If you are the person that is the contact for your correspondence address in the system, then you'll receive the 6-digit PIN. If you're not the contact, that email is going to go to that person or to that email address that we have currently on file. Check with that person. Before you go through any changes, before you do any changes with the call center or with that form, please check with that person and have them give you the PIN number. Okay? If you don't have an email address on file with us, contact the call center. They'll give you instructions on what you need to do. But if it goes to somebody that is the contact, maybe some kind of credentialing person, check with them to see if they've received the email with the 6-digit PIN number. Have them give you that PIN number. So if you do not have a correspondence email on file, you will be notified that we can't send you a PIN. We have no email address to send you one to. So that's a way of indicating to you that you need to contact the call center and have some instructions on what you need to do at this point. And you're going to go ahead and just close this screen, and you'll go back into this once you get that set up. This is an example of what that email address is going to look like, or what the email that you're going to receive is going to look like. You will get a 6-digit PIN number, and this is what that email is going to look like in your email. Please check your junk mail folder. Maybe it got put into your junk mail folder. Again, if you are not the one whose email is listed in our correspondence address, you may not be the one getting this email. So check with your other coworkers, check with whoever may be listed as the correspondence address. If you have questions about this, contact our call center. So you're going to need the 6-digit PIN number. You're then going to enter that PIN number in the screen once it gives that screen to you, and click Submit. So again, let me reiterate to you, this 6-digit PIN number is linking your provider ID to your account, the account that you just created to log into the PE portal. It is linking your provider ID to your account. That's the purpose of this. And we're sending that 6-digit PIN number to the correspondence email that we currently have loaded into the Medicaid system. If you have questions about that, you're going to contact the call center. You're then going to click Submit, and it will let you in to start the attestation process. So this is pretty easy and simple. The first thing you're going to do is select the provider type that you're going to attest for. So remember, I mentioned to you that this is only for certain provider types: the CHAs, the fiscal intermediaries, the LICSAs, the managed care organizations. Now, the one thing with this is the system only allows you to select one at a time. Some of you may have multiples of these on file. If you are a CHA and a fiscal intermediary, if you have both of those categories of service on file with Medicaid, you are going to need to do this a second time, because you can only select one of these at a time. So you're going to select one of those. It will tell you you've completed that step. The next section is you're going to need to select what type of entity are you? Are you a not-for-profit or voluntary? Are you a government or public entity, or are you a for-profit and proprietary entity? Once you select one of those, that will be complete. So again, this is going to be based on that selection that you do in the first section. Once you've completed both of those sections, the system will now know what type of attestation you need to complete. So let's review those attestations. You're going to click Next. And for those of you that are fiscal intermediaries, this is the attestation or certification that you're going to get. Please read through this. You are attesting to this information. The other thing I want to point out to you is there may be actions you need to take. I want to point out to you, fiscal intermediaries, I want to point out that number 3 does state that the fiscal intermediary has provided each managed care organization an annual statement of wage parity hours and expenses. So you can see there's an action that you need to take, that you have given that information to a managed care organization. Now again, this does state that that is reserved until June 1st of 2022, because they know that you're doing this a very quick process at this point. But in the future, you're going to need to do that. So that's why I say, please read through these statements carefully. You're going to check the box off at the bottom of the attestation, and you're going to click Next. So that's the fiscal intermediary. The next one is the LICSA. Okay, this is the certification or attestation, and again, this provider is similar to the fiscal intermediary. You also have that number 3 that I want to point out to you. You may have an action that you need to follow. So again, you're going to check that box off at the bottom of the certification statement and click Next. Here's an example of a CHA. Okay, so again, similar, but could be different. So please keep in mind that each one of these could be different, and again, you need to follow through and read the entire statement. You're going to check off the box at the bottom and click Next. An example again of the long-term home health care plan. That certification statement, that attestation, same thing, read through that, check the box off at the bottom, and click Next. Now again, I'm showing you each one of these because this is what you're going to see once you select one of those options on the previous screen. And then again, this is what a managed care organization is going to see for the attestation. So once you get in here, once you select your provider type, make sure you read through that statement. And you're going to check the box off and click Next. So those are the different attestations. Now I want to look at the 3 different entity types. Okay, we want to look at the 3 different entity types. So the next, and this is what I'm referring to, is that second section where you selected one of the 3, whether you're not-for-profit, government, or for-profit. So the first one is the not-for-profit. You're going to enter in the name of someone, and this name is going to be based on the drop-down menu. So the name you should be entering is either your CEO, your CFO, a chairperson of the governing board, or an officer of your group. So it should be one of these people. You don't need to do this for each one of them, but you need to do this for one of these people that are responsible for this. Now, this could be the person that is logging into the system, okay? So maybe your CEO, your CFO may be the one that is logging into the system and will be doing this every year. Now, again, this is the list for the not-for-profit. This could be different for each of the other types. So let's look at those ones. At the bottom, you click Next. Now we're going to look at the government or public entity attestation. Again, you're going to fill out the name of the person, and you'll notice that the second section here is different. You're either selecting whether that is a public official responsible for the operation of the fiscal intermediary or an individual not responsible for the operation. So this is different than the one I just showed you. This one, again, is for the government or public entity attestation. Then you click Next. The last here is for the for-profit and proprietary one. So again, same thing. You're entering the name of a representative and you're selecting someone in the drop-down. So again, this is different than what I showed you earlier. So please make sure you're entering in the correct person. Are you entering in a CEO, an operator, or an owner? So those are the three different entity types. That's basically what you need to do. You need to check off the box on the attestation. You're then going to come to this one of these three screens based on what you're selecting at the beginning. And then you click Next at the bottom. Once you click Next, the system's going to say, are you ready to proceed? Because that's pretty much all you need to do for your attestation. You're now going to tell the system, yes, I'm ready to proceed. I filled out what I need to, and I filled out what I need to correctly. And now the system's going to ask you to go ahead and review what you've given us. So congratulations, you've almost finished filling out your application. You're going to review it and submit it. That's pretty much all you need to do. You're going to take a look at, make sure that you filled out everything correctly. Make sure that you've selected, I'm a CHA, I'm a certified home health agency, and I am for profit. So this is an example. You're filling this information out based on your agency. You've checked the box off at the bottom of the attestation and you filled out a contact person or the individual that's submitting the attestation. Okay, and you've given us their title. Now you can print this information out as a confirmation. So you might want to do that. Print this information as your confirmation that it was completed, and then you must make sure that you confirm and submit. That's what you need to do for your wage parity attestation. That's it. You're going to select the type of provider you are. You're going to select your entity type. And based on that information, it's going to give you what forms you need to fill out. And then you submit that information. So I want to remind you that all attestations must be completed for each entity that is enrolled in New York State Medicaid and you are providing services. Again, this is for those counties that are affected. Those are, again, New York City, Westchester, Nassau, and Suffolk. Those are the counties that are affected by this. And again, if you have multiple enrollments, if you are enrolled in Medicaid as a CHA and a LICSA, you need to do this separately for each one of those. So if your parent organization owns or controls more than one agency, the attestation must be signed for each one separately, incorporated, and provider type. Again, if a parent company owns or controls separately and is enrolled entities with Medicaid as a CHA or LICSA or a fiscal intermediary, you would log in and complete the 3 attestations, one for each entity based on your enrollment type. Also, if a parent company owns or controls 4 different LICSAs, you would log in and complete 4 separate attestations, one again for each of those entities. And if you have a single legal entity that's enrolled as a CHA or LICSA, then you would complete 2 attestations, one for the CHA and one for the LICSA, even though you are enrolled as a single legal entity. So that's where I was referring to, is if you had multiple categories of service, you're a CHA and a LICSA, even though you're enrolled just once with Medicaid, you need to do this for each of those provider types. This information here is on the Department of Health website, the MRT 61 website regarding wage parity. This information is taken right from that website. So you can review this again, either by looking at the presentation slides that I showed you at the beginning, or by looking at that Department of Health website. So at this point, we basically have reached the end of the webinar. I want to point out to you some resources. And again, I mentioned a couple of these at the beginning. The Provider Enrollment Portal, that's where you're going to do your attestation. And you can get to that by going to the emedni.org website. We have a new wage parity button on the right-hand side of the website that you can get to this information. If you want to look at the policies and regulations related to this and about the compliance and certification, you can go out to the New York State Department of Health website. And again, you can also get to this by going to the wage parity website where the PE portal is located. We have a link out to that MRT 61 website. Questions on policy and guidance related to this, you can find those questions or answers at HC Worker Parity, so home care, HC Worker Parity at health.ny.gov. If you have questions about your enrollment file and the email address that is on file in your correspondence address, again, remember that is where we're sending the PIN number that you may need to link your provider to your account. You can contact our call center at 800-343-9000. So at this point, we're going to stop here. We have reached the end of our webinar. Thank you again, everybody, for attending, and we will be ending our webinar. Thank you very much.